Okay, so wintertime fishing, you got to keep in mind, those bass, their metabolism slows way down. They don't hibernate like bears do, but they don't eat as much. But the good thing about it is they also group up. So if you can find them, you can usually find a lot of them in the wintertime. And since that water temperature is cold, those bass typically are either going to be really deep or very, very shallow. There's not a lot of in between. Because the reason I say they're deep is because as deeper you go, the water's usually a little bit warmer, so they'll group down there. But at the same time, during the winter, we may have a January day that's in the 50s for a few days, and it warms that water temperature, that real shallow water, quickly. Those, especially if you have rocky banks, you have rock on that bank, those rocks will absorb that sunlight quicker and warm that water just a couple degrees. Even a degree can make a huge difference for a bass to slide up shallow and eat. And so that's something you keep in mind. I like the pretty much all through the year, but in the wintertime, I like to target those big points, area where there's deep water, but it's close to shallow water. And the reason is because of that, what I just said, those bass are able to, when it's really cold, and we're having a rainy, snowy days, they're able to drop deep down in the water column. But as the day progresses, it gets warmer, maybe at 1 o'clock or something, and that sun's been out for a while and it's warmed up that water a degree or two. Those bass will be able to slide up and get in that shallow water and feed. And then if a cold front comes through or just the night, they're able to slide back down. So they like that deep water that's close to a shallow water. So I look for points, real long points with deep water close by, especially on a lake. And that's gonna give them that area to trap bait and slide off in deep water as they can kind of, depending on how the weather changes. A couple of baits that I like to use in the wintertime. Keep in mind, everything you use in the winter, just like us, we're a little bit slower in the winter. And bass aren't feeding a lot, so they're not as active, their metabolism's slower, so they're not willing to chase things very far. So anything you throw, you want to make sure it's a slow moving bait. If not just you're reeling it slow, the bait itself, the presentation you're giving is slow. So a lot of times in the wintertime, anything I'm reeling, if it's a crankbait, it's really slow. Little minnows are good this time of year. Jerk baits are good if you're familiar with jerk baits. Anything that's representative of a crawdad or a dying shad is typically a good bait during the wintertime.